Hi guys, welcome everyone. My name is Vera and today I'm going to show you how to paint our awesome painting that you can see right here on the right of your screen. Sometimes I'm going to be showing you the original here, but you can refer to this image right here at all times. So before we start, let's go through all our supplies to make sure we have everything that we're going to need for today. First thing you're going to need is a canvas. I'm going to be using 8 by 10 inch. As you can see, it's pretty small. You're more than welcome to use any size. If you want to go with a massive canvas, go for it. Nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you adjust the size of your brushes. So if you go with a larger canvas, you might want to grab a larger brushes. Other than that, there's no difference. It might take you a little bit longer to complete it just because you'll have a larger area to cover, but other than that, again, no difference. So that brings us to brushes. We always recommend, if you've ever painted with us, we always recommend using at least 3 different brushes, large, medium, and small. So just so it's easier, so you can use larger brush for the larger elements, medium brush for the medium elements, and small brush for a really fine elements. In my case today, they're going to be all pointy / rounded brushes. So this is my large one. As you can see, it's pointed with a rounded top. Same with my medium one and this one. Small brush, regardless of the shape and size of this two. Small brush always has to be a fine brush with a pointy tip. So the most important part about this brush is a pointy tip. And mostly we're going to use it for just branches and a tree trunk. So roots and branches. It's not going to be, we're not going to do much with it. Let's just say that. And a couple odds and ends here and there. If there's something else you particularly want to do with this brush, you can. But we're only going to do mostly branches and roots with it. If all you have at home is square brushes, this too can definitely be square. They don't have to be this particular shape. Just grab a variety of brushes. What else we're gonna need? We're gonna need pencil, because we're gonna start with sketching our moon and the cliff, somewhat sketching it. So yeah, grab a pencil and something rounded to outline. In my case, that's just a lid from a pot. You can grab some sort of plate, bowl, something rounded, whatever that may be, just to outline your moon. And we're gonna need water, paper towel or reusable fabric cloth, and some paint. For paint, again, I will be using pretty standard set today, but this is what we always use: red, blue, white, yellow, black. So primary colors plus black and white, and we're gonna be mixing every single color that you can see here out of those. If you're not a big fan of mixing and you do have a large variety of paints at home, you're more than welcome to color match it and grab a few different shades of pink, a few different shades of blue, some purple, some green, plus black and white. So you can do that too, that way you don't have to mix, that's totally fine, whatever you prefer, but I will be showing you how to mix all our colors, all our shades from just the primary colors. All right, and that's pretty much it. So what we're gonna start with here is we're gonna position our moon. So it's going to be positioned on generally a bit to the top and a bit to the left. So do you see there is about in my case with the size of the canvas that I have, there is about an inch from the right that's left of empty space, and maybe a little bit, no, actually there's about an inch from the top as well, maybe a little bit less. So a bit from the top and a bit from the right, that's what you want to leave, and then outline. All right, so do you see? A bit left from the top, a bit left from the right. You could leave a bit more or less. That's totally up to you. It depends how much space you want to have there in the end. For me, this looks like a good amount. So I'm going to stick with that. And now I'm going to outline my cliff. So I'm going to start my cliff at about middle of my circle. Approximately. Again, this is not a precise math. This is super, super approximately. And from there, I'm gonna bring it here, and I'm gonna bring it here, second line. So one line this way, one line this way, like a slice of a pie, and then we're gonna bring this thing that goes down. And you see I'm adding line down, line to the left, line down, line to the left, line down, line to the left. And you can make as many of those as you want. So those we're assuming are little rock formations. So again, something like that, super approximately. Yours could look slightly different. All right, and we will divide this onto those rock formations later on. So this is just for us to place it. This is a placement. All right, that's pretty much it. I don't think I'm gonna be adding anything else here. All right, now I'm gonna move on to my paint, but first I'm gonna have a sip of my tea. All right, let's move to paint. Here's my paint, and I'm gonna start with my large brush. So the first things that I'm gonna finish is my moon and my sky. So everything background. Once background is done, then we'll move on to cliff and a tree. And we will add a couple things on the background later, but the majority of it has to be done before we move any further. So I'm gonna start with the actual sky, so the darker part. And we will start with just blue. So we'll take some blue. I will add a little bit of white to it because as you can see, my blue is pretty dark. It almost looks black if I don't add any white to it. So I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it to make it lighter, to make it more of a shade that I'm looking for. If you have this color pre-mixed, great, you can use it. You don't have to add white. I'm gonna go ahead and paint around my moon. With this color. So you see, I painted quite a bit, not just like a one brush line. I painted, I would say, for the size of my canvas, about an inch. Again, don't go by those measurements if you're using larger canvas, because your measurements would be bigger proportional to your canvas. But if anyone is using the same canvas as mine, which is 8 by 10, yeah, I would say this is about an inch, more or less. All right, now I'm gonna wash my brush, dab it off on a paper towel. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take straight blue. So this time, the dark version, not mixed with anything, just as is. And I'm gonna color in the rest of my canvas here with this darker blue. Oh, and just to mention, if you guys are painting us for the first time, or you're just joining and you're not sure if you can do this later, maybe you just accidentally came across this video and you don't have any supplies with you, that's okay. You can always come back and do it at a later time. The video is going to remain right here. We're not going to be removing it at any point, so anytime that works for you, you can come back and do this. All right, so, and then you're going to merge your two different colors. So with this color that we just added, I'm going to slightly overlap your previous color, so your lighter blue. So there's no harsh line in between. And as you can see, it's a little streaky, and that's okay because you're not going to see it. This is just an underlay. We're going to be adding other colors, so you're not going to see this in the end at all. All right. As this is drying, we're going to let it dry for just a little bit. As this is drying, we can start our moon, and the moon we're going to do in 3 colors. We're going to do purple, we're going to do pink, and we're going to do peach. So I'm going to start with purple. So I'm going to take some white, some blue. We're aiming for, I would say, about medium purple. We don't want it too dark, too light, and then I'm going to add some red to it. Now, to make nice purple, it's important that your red is magenta based. It has to be more like a very, very dark pink, or magenta, or like a raspberry color. So anything that's more of a pinker based color is great. What you want to avoid is you want to avoid anything that has yellow tint or orange tint. Those reds don't mix well into purple. They will give you a very, very dull color. It's almost gonna look brownish, like a very dusty purple. So just try to avoid any reds that contain orange or yellow, or look slightly orangey or yellow, and try to use more pink based reds or even straight pink. That's fine too. So So I think this is a good color, but again, you can use any shade of purple. If you want to go darker, that's fine. Just keep in mind it's not going to be that contrast with the background. But you can go colder, you can go warmer, you can go pinker. It is up to you. I think this is a good shade of purple. And I'm going to go right to the edge here. And then I'm gonna bring it a little bit more in. So I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker, this ring of purple. Then after that, I'm gonna move on to my pink. So I'm gonna wash my brush, dab it off on a paper towel, take some white, scoop it on the side, add some red, make a nice pink. Again, any shade will do, whichever shade you like. I would say I would go with about medium pink here. This looks good to me. I might adjust it. No, that looks good. But yeah, you can always try it and see if you like it or not. And if you don't like it, you're more than welcome to adjust it. You don't have to stick with it if you don't love it. So we're gonna add a second ring of color, which is gonna be our pink. And then as soon as we have it, we're gonna start blending it into our purple. So just don't refill your brush, continue going a little bit into your purple, almost like smudging it into your purple, but don't go too far either, because then your brush will get too contaminated with purple, and then you will end up with lots of purple, and it will overtake your pink. So just go a bit into your purple, but not all the way, and a bit into your pink. So you want to continue getting rid of that line by going a little bit into purple, a little bit into pink, merging the two colors together. All right, and now I'm going to finish with my nice peachy color in the middle. You can actually mix it where your pink was, or you can make a whole new spot, totally fine. I'll mix it into my pink. I'll get a bit of white and just a tiny touch of yellow. And this may have been a little bit too much yellow, so let's get a little bit more red. So it's red, yellow, and white. You just have to mix it to the right proportion. Oh, that looks good, but I think I want it lighter. Let's try this. Oh yeah, that's better. So you see, you can always try a little smidge here to see what that color would look like here, because it always looks different on the plate because you don't have much going on here, right? It doesn't have the right background, the right neighboring colors. So you always want to try it on your palette, oh, sorry, on your canvas, and then adjust it. I'm gonna color this in. And again, as soon as I got to my pink, I will go ahead and I'll merge it into my pink. And then you can even take some white. So I washed my brush, dabbed it off on a paper towel, took some straight white, and I might even just lighten up here a little bit. Yeah, looking good. I like it. So now we're gonna leave this to dry, and we're gonna go back to our background because our background is drier now. It's not fully dry, but it's drier. It's dry enough for us to continue working on it. And now I'm gonna move to black. So there's a lot of black on the background, so we're gonna add that. So wash off your brush, dab it off on a paper towel, make sure it's nice and dry and clean. And then I'm gonna take black, just a little bit. You don't wanna take too much. So I took some, I'm rubbing it into the bristles of my brush. So do you see, I have enough so it leaves the actual black mark, but it doesn't leave a blob. It's very thin. That's what you want. And with this, I'm gonna start adding like a little dabs onto my background. You can do rubbing. Rubbing would be like this. Either is fine. They both will give you about the same result. So it is whatever you prefer. Sometimes I would do both. Sometimes I would do some dabbing, some rubbing. And the goal is to darken up all our edges, but also kind of merge it closer to the middle. So you're gonna dab some. I always start at the edge. While my brush still has lots of paint, I like to start at the edge. And then once my brush sort of runs out of paint or has significantly less, then I like bringing it a little bit in, and now I'm gonna switch to rubbing. And I'm gonna rub it. Do you see it becomes a bit foggier, a bit more merged, because my brush is almost out of paint. Do you see it has like next to no paint, right? It becomes almost like a makeup brush in a way. This always reminds me of makeup application or makeup blending. You see it becomes a bit more gradual, darkening. All right, and now I'm gonna refill my brush with just a little bit more black, and I'm gonna continue, and I will do everything that's on the bottom here. So again, starting with the edge, and then bringing it in. Okay, empty my brush. Now I'm gonna rub all of it. And notice when I rub, I don't go right in the middle in the thick of the black. I go more around the edge where it connects to the background to smudge that edge. I don't care about smudging the middle. Middle can stay black. I like it black. I just want to make the edge of it softer. All right, that's looking good. And while I'm at it, I might as well do my edges. So I'm literally going to take some black paint and I will go ahead and I'll paint my edges. Not everyone paints their edges, but I personally prefer to do that. And if you guys painted with me before, you know this. I paint my edges very often. Not every time, but quite often. See, it almost like acts as an extension. This is what I like. When the painting is so dark up front, it's always good to almost like extend that to the side. Do the same on the bottom here. And the top. We might as well do the side, right? The other side. Why not? Let's do all of it. All right, great. I'm gonna wash off my brush, dab it off on a paper towel. And actually for the next step, I really have to wait a little bit because I can't move to the next step just yet because we're gonna need to move on to a lighter blues, and both our background and our moon backdrop has to be dry. And in my case, as you can see, possibly, maybe you can see, maybe not, there's a little bit of glare here, which means those areas are still wet. You see there's a bit of glare here, there's a bit of glare there. So what I would suggest, if yours is still wet too, you can either just, pause this video, take a tiny break, do whatever you want and then come back, or you can grab a blow dryer and just blow dry it to speed up the process and make it dry faster. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to pause this for 2 minutes, let it dry. It's almost dry. My paint dries extremely fast, so in like 2-3 minutes it's gonna be dry. But because I'm pausing the video, it's actually gonna feel like this to you. It's not, you don't have to wait. It's gonna feel like 1 second. So I'm gonna do that, and as soon as it's dry, I'm gonna resume this video and I'll see you guys in a second. All right, it is dry, or at least it's drier. So we can continue. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna do a bit of lighter blue. It's not gonna be super light, but it's gonna be a bit lighter. So you can use either medium or large brush for this. So again, I'm gonna take some white, some blue, mix it up. This one is not gonna be like a super light. It's gonna be about medium light or light, but not crazy light. So do you see it's lighter than what I used before, but it's not very light. And I'm gonna dab off my brush on a paper towel. I only want to use just a little bit of this. And with this, I'm gonna go right here, closer to the edge here of my moon. I'm almost gonna add like a highlight. Just make sure you're barely touching your canvas because it should be quite light. It shouldn't be blobby. It should be very, very nice and light and soft. And with the same color, I'm also going to splatter a little bit. So I'm going to water it down. And this time, try to cover your moon. We're going to try to splatter on a background only. Okay, and that also has to dry. So while that is drying, we can work a little bit on our moon. So for our moon, now I'm gonna go light. So I'm gonna take more white, add it to my blue, make really nice light blue. And again, I'm only gonna use a little bit of it, so not a full brush. I might even add a smidge of a red to it to make it slightly, or a purple, to give it slightly purple undertone. But it still should remain light blue, just warmer. Okay, I think this should work. Do you see it's a little bit warmer than the previous one? And here I'm gonna add a little bit of that, but on my moon side. Before I did that and I added it onto the outside, now I'm gonna add it onto the inside. And then once I have this, I'm gonna start. So again, I'm gonna dab off the extra. I'm gonna start lightly merging this line towards the middle by dabbing. So do you see I'm dabbing some towards the middle? Very lightly. I'm breaking this line. And this is a layered process. We're gonna have to let that dry and do a couple more layers later. All right, that's our first layer. See, we broke all that line, right? Now we're gonna do the same color just on a background, and this is gonna dry, and then when it's dry, we're gonna add our second layer there. All right, so I'm gonna make a little bit more of that light blue. And with this light blue, again, I'm gonna dab off my brush on the paper towel, make sure I don't have too much. And with this light blue, I'm gonna go on a background and I'm gonna start adding it. And again, you can dab or you can rub. I personally prefer rubbing here. I think it just reads a little better. So it was just a tiny touch of that light blue on my brush. I'm gonna be rubbing it. I'm almost making it look like, yes, stars, but almost like a wind in a way. I know it's not necessarily wind, it's more a galaxy type of painting, so it's stars and constellations and everything else. But this circular movement makes it look like wind, because it gives it so much dynamic. And then you can add it into any shapes that you want. You can do swirls, it doesn't have to be just straight lines. Do you see here I have more of like a swirl types? So I'm gonna stay with the same. I'm gonna do them more in some sort of shapes. You see it looks like swirls. It's not just straight lines. Basically, that's the goal. You don't want to have just straight lines. So as long as it's not just straight lines, it's great. Add some right here. Stardust, that's what it looks like. All right, do you see there's lots of movement now? Here originally I didn't have any, but I kind of feel like adding a little bit this time. Yeah, that looks good. I'm happy with it. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of purple here. So I still have just a touch of that purple from earlier. If not, you can mix a whole new one. If it matches, great. If it doesn't, not a big deal. And I'm just gonna add a bit of, in the same motion, I'm gonna add a bit of purple here. A little bit right here. You know what, maybe I have to even make a little more because it doesn't read as much purple as I would like it. Maybe I'll do a little bit more paint so it reads a little bit better. Oh yeah, that's better. Just needed a touch more paint. All right, and last one, I'm gonna do some pink. So I'm gonna wash off my brush. I'll actually switch to a medium brush for that. I was using large one till now, but I'm gonna switch to medium. And let's do some pink. So I'm gonna take some red, some white, mix them up. Make a hot pink-ish. And again, using just a little bit of this paint, not too much. I'm gonna add some of those swirls. Pink. You know what? Maybe I need to make it a little bit brighter. This is a little dark. Oh yeah, that's better. And again, we're accentuating those movements here. Very lightly. Everything has to be done super, super light. No blobs, so use the minimum amount of paint on your brush. All right, that looks good. Now I'm gonna splatter a little bit with my pink too. So I'm gonna water it down. Grab a brush full. I'm gonna splatter around the areas where I added the pink. Okay, that looks pretty good. See, there is a bit of splatter there. Okay, now I could move on to even lighter blue and add it on my moon again, because as you can see, this is nearly not enough glow, and a bit more onto background, and then we'll do straight white and we'll do the same things. So let's do light blue again. I mean, you could use the same color or just do it lighter. It depends what color you used originally. Second layer is gonna read a bit better. First layer always is not the best because it gets absorbed, it gets mixed and all that. And again, we're gonna spread it a little bit so it doesn't end with a harsh line. And you break up that line and merge it a bit towards the middle. Beautiful. See, it like got the glow now. And with a little bit of this paint, again, I'm gonna go on to the background and I'm gonna add a bit of, a bit more of that lightness to some of those swirly areas. To create a little more contrast. And another thing I'm going to do with this color is I'm going to add a couple dots and I'm going to smudge them. Those are going to be bases for my stars. So you can actually grab a small brush for this or anything you want. I'm going to use small brush. Dip it in the water, grab some paint. And what we're going to do, you're going to add dot, right? And then you're going to smudge it a little bit. Just dab over it with your finger and you'll see it will get a bit foggier. And just add a few of those wherever you feel like, and those are going to be bases for our stars. We're going to add some white stars over them later. So wherever you feel like there's a spot, there's nothing going on, you can add a few of those dots. All right, so I did a few. I might add a bit more later, we'll see. But this is a good start. And now you can literally add some white. So for this, it needs to be a little bit drier for white too, but I can add some white on a background for now. Again, I'll probably use my medium brush, so I'll make sure it's dry. Literally just dry it on a paper towel, clean of course. And I'm gonna take just a tiny, tiny smidge of white. Again, rub it all the way into my brush. And make sure it's like it doesn't have too much paint, so lightly dab it off. And with this, you can just add a bit of that. You might even rub it a bit more. A bit of that highlight onto my swirly twirlies, to that stardust. You see, it adds extra little smidge of contrast. Again, make sure you barely have any paint on your brush. I'll add it on some pink too. Actually, the more layers, you can add another layer of pink too. The more layers you add, the more vibrant those colors are gonna be. Because we're working over black background, with a one layer, it's very hard to make them vibrant. It's always better if you're not, let's say, on a time limit, you have all the time in the world, let it dry, add another layer of pink, add another layer of blue. All of that is going to increase the contrast for you. It's going to make your colors more vibrant. And especially you'll find that with student grade paint, because it's not the most, it doesn't do the best coverage. It's not the best quality. It's not like a professional quality paint, which is good for mixing. There are really good things. It's good for price point, but it's not the best for coverage. It requires layering because it doesn't give you, just the right coverage from the first time, from the first try. So it's always best layered in a couple layers versus, just one layer. That looks good, and we may as well just add our stars right away. So you're just going to take small brush, take a little bit of white, and you can add it into the areas that do you remember we did the smudgy dots as a base for our stars, so you can now add stars. You see they're glowing because we added that glow base. All right, I think this is all that I have prepared for the stars. And now we can do, let's do a bit of splatter. I'm going to do large brush for this. So I'm going to take some white on the side, water it down, make sure my brush is all absorbed. I'll make sure it's all absorbed into my brush. And again, try to get it mostly on a background. You don't want to get it too much on your moon. If some of it gets on a moon, I wouldn't say it's not a big deal. Like, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to remove it, but still try to keep it on a background, on a sky area versus the moon. All right. Looks pretty good. And now I'm going to add white to my moon, and I'm going to use my medium brush. So again, I'm going to take just a little bit of white. Make sure I don't have too much. It shouldn't be a blob, so I'm going to dab off extra on my paper towel. And now I'm going to highlight that edge of the moon. And I'm going to dab some towards the middle. It's my last highlight. And again, you can do this in a couple layers too. It doesn't have to be just one layer. So if you do one and you feel like, oh, it's not bright enough, wait until it dries and do one more time. And every layer here, so this is our third layer here, right? Every layer you want to do a little bit less than a previous layer. Because if you do the same amount, you're going to cover up everything that you had underneath, which is, I mean, it defeats the point of adding it because then you're covering it up fully. What you want to do is you don't want to cover it up fully. You want to add to it. You want to add a highlight that partially covers it up, but you still want to see some of that previous color underneath it. All right, that looks pretty good. Looks pretty good to me. See, it has a really nice glow now. And now we can move to our tree and our rock. So we're going to start with painting everything black. All of that is going to be black. So I'm going to start with painting my rock black, and we'll let it dry, and then we'll move on to a tree. I'm just going to take medium brush, black paint. And I'll paint it black. All right, so that's my rock added black. Now I'm gonna wait for it to dry. And as that's drying, I'm gonna move on to my tree. So for the tree, I'm actually gonna use small brush, but I'm gonna start with a medium brush on a tree trunk, and then I will use small brush. So I'm gonna add just the base for a tree trunk, so some sort of curved line. And then we're gonna, from there, go with a small brush. All right, so I'll wash off my medium brush, dab it off, put it on a side, and I'm gonna grab my small brush. And I'm gonna start adding my branches and roots. So for branches, you're always gonna start inside and bring them out. Because you want them to be a little bit thicker where they grow from. And this is easy to achieve when you work from them from the inside out, because you just push a little bit harder on your brush where you start, and then you slowly let go, and it creates a thinner end. Okay, and I'm gonna add some roots here. You see now it looks like this tree is really holding on to that rock here. And that's exactly what we want it to look like. Awesome. So I'm quite happy with my branches. You can make them longer, you can make them shorter, you can have more or less. Maybe just a few more around these areas, because that's where it goes a little bit further. All right, happy, happy, happy. And after that, we're gonna move on to the leaves. So I'm gonna switch my brush. I'm gonna wash off my my small brush, put it aside, and I'm gonna go back to my either large or medium. I think I'm gonna go with large. But either is fine, large or medium. And I'm gonna take some black, again, dab it off so I don't use way too much. You don't wanna have way too little, but you don't wanna have way too much. So it's like a good medium. And I'm gonna start dabbing a little, almost like a cloud of black for my leaves. And out of those clouds of black, I'm gonna make all this green part, all the foliage. So keep going, keep shaping your tree until you feel like it's a good shape. Yeah, it's all about really shaping it the way you want it, making it as big or small as you want it to be. I like personally keeping my tree within a moon, but if your tree comes out of the moon, that's okay too. Okay, that looks pretty good. And again, now all of that has to dry. I can't really do anything on it until it dries. So what I'm gonna do, just the same as before, I'm gonna pause my video and I'm gonna let this dry. And as soon as it's dry, I'm gonna resume it and I'm gonna show you guys what to do next. So I suggest you do the same, unless you have a blow dryer nearby, in which case you can just grab a blow dryer, and honestly, it speeds it up to just a few seconds. Blow dryer is so fast, so you can blow dry it and continue working on it right away. And for those of you who want to give it a bit of time, that's okay too. You can pause the video and return to it as soon as it's dried. And I will let mine dry and I will see you guys in 1 second, because it's gonna feel just like a second to you, me pausing it and resuming. All right, it is drier. I would say it's pretty much dry. I only have a couple little spots here. So we can move on to the rest of this beautiful painting. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some blues here, and it's gonna be a colder blue. And I'm gonna use my medium brush. So I'm gonna take some blue, I'm gonna take some white, I'm gonna mix it up. We still wanna keep it sort of on a darker side or medium. You don't want it any lighter than medium. And I'm gonna add just a tiny smidge of yellow to it. You see, just a little smidge. And that is to give it more of a like a teal, colder, almost like greenish blue undertone. This is what we want. And with this, we're gonna start adding those little sections here. So you can add almost like a little line just for you to know where things go. And then from there, you're gonna add a line to the left and line down. Something like that. And then right here, I'm gonna bring it up. And I'm gonna let this dry. And as that's drying, I'm gonna take the same color, but different brush. I'm gonna take my small brush, same color, and I'm gonna move on to my tree trunk. And I'll add lots of small lines here. That is for the texture, for the tree bark texture, and to accentuate those roots. That's looking good. And now I'm going to add just a little bit more highlight, a little bit of a lighter color. So again, I'm going to go back to my medium brush. I'll add just a touch more white here. And with this lighter color, I'm going to add a little highlight on all the same areas, just less than with the first blue. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, just less. Added some on this edge, and I'm going to add some on the tree trunk and the roots, just a little bit. All right, done, done, and done. And now I can move on to the greenery. So the greenery you can do with either a large brush or medium brush. I think I'm going to stay with my large one for now. And I'm going to start with my first green, which is going to be a darker green. So I'm going to take, you can actually mix it on the same spot. Some blue, a little bit of white, and some yellow, like a good amount of yellow. It should look something like that. And when you add it on black, it's actually going to look a little bit darker, especially when it dries. So something like this is good. I'm going to dab it off on a paper towel a little bit so I don't have too much paint. Now I'm going to start dabbing up those little clouds or islands of, dabs that I made before. But notice I'm not dabbing them fully. I'm still seeing some, I'm keeping some black visible. Right, so I added some here. Now for the left, I'm gonna do it bluer. So I'm gonna take a bit more blue, gonna add it in. I'll take a little bit more white, add it in. You see it got colder, the color got colder. And that's what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use that bluer, colder color that looks almost like emerald. So something between green and blue. I'm gonna dab that off more on my left side. And you can overlap it with that previous green as well, so it doesn't abruptly end. And I'm gonna add a little bit of that here as well, to this bottom part. And after that, that's my first green. Now I'm gonna do highlight. So I'm gonna switch my brush and oh, sorry guys, actually, before I do that, I'm gonna do greenery here. And I'm gonna go with our first green. So I'm gonna add a bit more yellow to the one I just used to make it, again, greener. And I'm gonna add a little bit right here. A couple dabs, some greenery here. Just a touch here, here. And a big bush right here. All right, so now I'm gonna do highlights. Here I'm gonna do warmer highlights, here I'm gonna do colder highlights. So for the warmer highlights, I'm gonna switch my brush. I'm gonna do, actually for all of it, I'm gonna do medium brush. So for the warmer highlights, I'm going to add yellow and white. And you see it gets brighter and yellower, warmer. So this should be okay, but let's try it, right? We might need to adjust it if it doesn't look good. And I'm gonna just add a little bit of a highlights on the upper sides of my, little clusters of leaves on the right side. So again, don't abruptly end it, just gradually decrease the amount of it as you go towards the left. So majority of it should be around here, and then it decreases, and it goes here and it goes down. And I'm gonna add the same highlight to these areas here. All right, and now I'm gonna do highlight on a colder section. So again, you can just take a bit more blue, add it in here, and white, blue and white. So you need to make like a teal color almost, which is blue, white, yellow, just different proportions. So I think this should be good. You see it looks almost like teal. Let's try it. Oh yeah, it's great. We're gonna highlight right here, here. So the majority should be on the left side here, and then you can decrease the amount as you go towards the right. So again, don't add it abruptly. You still want to add some there, but just less. You can add some right here as well, because whatever color we add here, we add it on this end as well. And again, I will just slightly merge it to the top. And then after that, you're going to add white highlight, and that would be a final touch. So I'm going to take just a tiny touch of white. I'm going to do a little bit of a white highlights. You can dab it off on a paper towel if you find that it's too much. I love how it really all comes together in the end. I'm gonna add some right here. And I will do just a little bit on this bottom of a tree trunk. I'm gonna grab my small brush, just a little touch of white. I'm gonna add just a little highlights over here. Beautiful, and I am officially done. I love how this looks, and with the black edges, you see it gives the picture even more contrast. I really like it. All right, guys, and then last thing that you do is you sign it. So you find a good spot wherever that may be, and you can put your name, initials, signature, honestly, anything that signifies that this is your painting that you have made. I will sign mine right here. This seems like a good spot. I'll put my initials. Done, done, and done. So feel free to share your results with us. We always love to see how they turned out. And you can do that by posting them in our Facebook group. And there's a link in the description of this video. So just copy it, paste it into your browser, and you will see we always encourage everyone to share their results there so we all can look at each other's results and feel like we did it together in the same room, even though we're all over the world. And if you guys enjoyed this, feel free to like and subscribe. We have a lot more video tutorials coming up as video releases or live tutorials, and we have hundreds of tutorials already uploaded here on YouTube as well. So feel free to check them all out. If you're interested in our other stuff, check out our website. It's also in the description of this video. And if you enjoyed my instructions personally and you just want to say thank you, Vera, I had a great time. First of all, of course, you can do that through comments. I always read the comments. Not right away, not the fastest person on response, but I will read them and I would love to hear that. But also, if you want to say thank you through tipping me, you can do that too. There's no pressure at all. It's super voluntary. But there's a link in the description of the video. It's a PayPal link. You can do that. You can use that to tip any amount of your liking. But again, no pressure at all. Thank you guys for joining me, and let's do this again sometime soon. Bye, everyone.